They say love gets stronger with time, but no one tells you sometimes time is the very thing that kills it. I was standing in front of the mirror, wearing the same red dress I wore on our first date. 10 years. 10 years of being Mrs. Claire Evans. And tonight was supposed to be special. I'd cooked his favorite meal, lit the candles, even sprayed the perfume he once said smelled like home. But the clock hit 9 p.m., then 10, and Ethan still wasn't home. At first I told myself he was busy. Work meeting, traffic, anything. But when I called his phone, I heard laughter in the background, a woman's laughter. And then he said, "Claire, I'll be late." Don't wait up. No apology. No warmth, just empty words from the man I once knew better than myself. I stared at our anniversary cake. The candles had melted into wax puddles. The food had gone cold. And my heart, well, it stopped pretending everything was fine. The next morning, he came home like nothing happened. Smelled like whiskey and someone else's perfume. I asked quietly, "Ethan, where were you?" He smirked. "You sound like my mother." Then he looked at me, really looked, and said the words that shattered me completely. "Claire, you're beautiful, but you're too old for love now. I want something new, something exciting." My knees went weak. He said it so calmly, like he was discussing the weather. 10 years of marriage, dismissed in one cruel sentence. I laughed, a broken, shaking laugh, because I didn't know what else to do. "You think love expires?" I whispered. He shrugged. "Yours did." He packed his things that afternoon. Didn't even glance at the wedding photo on our nightstand. Just zipped his bag and walked out, leaving behind silence and me, still wearing that red dress. The world didn't stop for me. It never does. My friends stopped calling. His family blamed me. And social media showed me pictures I never asked to see. Ethan at the beach with a 25-year-old yoga instructor, smiling like he'd found paradise. They called her his fresh start. And me? I was the aging wife who couldn't keep her man. Nights were the worst. The bed was too big, the house too quiet, and my reflection, my own face, felt like a stranger's. One night, I sat alone in our dark living room, scrolling through old photos. There I was, 26, fearless, laughing in the rain. I touched that photo and whispered to myself, if I was too old for love, maybe I'm just too dangerous for him to handle. Something shifted inside me that night. A quiet rage, a beautiful kind of fire, not the kind that destroys, the kind that forges something new. The next morning, I deleted every picture of Ethan from my phone. I made coffee, opened the curtains, and promised myself one thing. He will remember me, not as the woman he left, but as the one he could never replace. And right when I thought I was done thinking about him, my phone buzzed. A message. From Liam, Ethan's best friend. "Hey Claire, I heard what happened. You didn't deserve that." My thumb hovered over the screen, because I knew that text was the beginning of something Ethan would never be ready for. That message from Liam stayed on my screen for a long time. Simple words, "You didn't deserve that." But they felt heavier than anything Ethan ever said to me in months. I typed back, "Thanks, Liam, I'm fine." A lie, obviously. But what was I supposed to say? That my husband left me for a girl who still says OMG unironically? Liam replied almost instantly, "You don't have to be fine, just don't disappear, okay?" That one line hit me harder than it should have. Because in the past few weeks, that's exactly what I'd done. Disappeared. From my friends, my life, myself. 2 days later, he showed up at my door. No warning, no call. Just standing there in the rain, holding a paper bag and 2 coffee cups. "Hey," he said. "Didn't know what you liked, so I got everything." Inside the bag were pastries, chocolate croissants, lemon muffins, and that same blueberry scone Ethan used to love. I looked at it, then at him, and said quietly, "He hated the lemon ones." Liam smiled. "Then we'll eat those first." For the first time in weeks, I laughed, genuinely laughed. It was small, fragile, but real. We sat by the window, sipping coffee, watching the rain. He told me about his work, his dog, his new apartment downtown. I told him about nothing, because I had nothing to tell. He didn't push. He just listened. And that was enough. But the thing about silence is, It gives your mind too much space to think. And mine wouldn't stop whispering. He's Ethan's best friend. He still talks to him. Wouldn't it be poetic if... I pushed the thought away, but it kept coming back, like smoke under a closed door. Over the next few weeks, Liam and I started seeing each other more. Not like that, not yet. But there was an energy between us, the kind that fills the air before lightning strikes. He helped me fix a leaking pipe, brought takeout when I forgot to eat, made me laugh with stories about how Ethan once got drunk and cried over a broken video game controller. Every moment with Liam made me feel seen, like I still existed, like I wasn't just Ethan's ex-wife. And maybe that's where I went wrong, because I started wanting Ethan to see it too. One evening, Liam and I were sitting on the couch watching an old movie. Halfway through, he looked at me and said softly, "You know, Claire, Ethan never deserved you." I smiled sadly. "You're just saying that." He shook his head. "No, I saw the way you looked at him, the way you believed in him even when he didn't. Most people don't get love like that." My throat tightened. It wasn't what he said, it was how he said it, like he meant it. For a split second, I saw something in his eyes, guilt, maybe, or affection. Either way, it was dangerous, because in that look, I realized something dark but true. Maybe Liam wasn't just the friend who stayed. Maybe he was the perfect way to make Ethan watch everything he threw away. That night, after Liam left, I stood in front of the mirror again. No tears this time, just a quiet smirk on my lips. "Too old for love, huh?" I whispered to my reflection. "Let's see how he feels watching me fall for his best friend." And in that moment, I decided this wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was war. Revenge doesn't start with anger, it starts with silence, the kind that tastes sweet and dangerous, like poison in a crystal glass. It had been a month since Ethan left, and 3 weeks since Liam started checking in almost every other day. Coffee, dinner, movies, laughter, all innocent on the surface, but deep inside, every smile I gave him was a move in my game. One afternoon, while Liam and I were at a small cafe downtown, something happened that changed everything. I was stirring my coffee when I heard a voice behind me. Familiar. Cold. "Claire?" I froze. That voice I could never forget. I turned around slowly, and there he was, Ethan, tanned, smug, wearing that same fake charm he used to hide his arrogance. And beside him stood her, the younger woman, barely in her 20s, clinging to his arm like a trophy. He smiled. "Didn't expect to see you here?" I smiled back, calm and effortless. "Neither did I. How's young love treating you?" The girl giggled awkwardly. Ethan looked caught, like he hadn't planned what to say next. But before he could, Liam stood up from his seat beside me. "Hey, babe, you ready to go?" The silence that followed was priceless. Ethan's face, blank, tight, jealous. You could almost see his jaw clench. "Babe," he repeated, pretending to laugh. Liam put his arm around me and said casually, "Yeah, Claire and I have been seeing each other." Small world, huh? I wanted to smirk. I wanted to savor it, but I kept my tone soft, innocent. "Don't make it awkward, Ethan. We've all moved on." And then I looked at his girlfriend and added gently, "You take care of him, sweetie. He gets bored easily." Her smile faded. Ethan looked like he'd swallowed fire. That was the first victory. Small, but sharp enough to draw blood. That night, Ethan texted me, "So you're with Liam now? Wow, real classy." I stared at the screen, a smile playing on my lips. Then I typed back, "You said I was too old for love. Guess I found someone who disagrees." No reply. Just seen. And that silence was music days turned into weeks. Liam and I got closer, or at least that's what he thought. Dinner dates, long walks, old movies at my place. He was kind, gentle, and completely unaware that he'd become my chess piece. But something unexpected happened. Sometimes when he smiled, my heart actually softened. And that scared me more than anything, because revenge is easy when your heart's cold. But Liam was warming mine without even trying. One night, while we were watching a movie, he turned to me and asked quietly, "Claire, are we real? Or am I just a way for you to forget him?" My chest tightened. I looked into his eyes, honest, searching, good. And for a split second, I almost told the truth. Almost. But then I remembered Ethan's voice. "You're too old for love," and that buried the guilt. I smiled, brushing Liam's cheek with my hand. "Does it matter? We're both happy, right?" He nodded slowly, but I could tell he didn't believe me completely. Still, he stayed, and that's when I realized sometimes the best revenge isn't about hurting your ex. It's about showing him that someone better took what he threw away. A week later, I posted a picture. Just one. Liam and I sitting by the lake laughing. No caption. Just a red heart emoji. Within an hour, Ethan viewed it. Within 2, he texted again. "You really think he loves you? You'll see how fake people can be." I stared at the message, and that's when it hit me. He wasn't over me. He was watching, hurting, good. But what Ethan didn't know was that I wasn't finished. The cafe scene was just the opening act. The real show, the one that would break his pride completely, was still to come. Because when you play with fire, you don't just burn someone's ego. You burn everything they thought they controlled, and I was ready to light that match. He thought he'd moved on, until I reminded him some ghosts don't stay buried. I still remember that night like it happened yesterday. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of wet asphalt after the rain. I was sitting in Ethan's car, right outside our old apartment, the one Daniel and I used to share before he decided I wasn't young enough for love. The windows were fogged up, the city lights blurring like fading memories. Ethan leaned closer, his hand brushing mine. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked softly. I didn't answer right away. My heart was pounding, not out of love, but power. The kind of power I'd never felt when I was with Daniel. Back then, I was always waiting for his attention, his approval, his love. But now I was the one in control. I looked at Ethan and smiled. Yes, I want him to see what he lost. And fate, or maybe karma, didn't make me wait long. A few minutes later, Daniel stepped out of the building. His hair was messy, shirt half tucked in, like he'd been spiraling for days. He froze when he saw me and Ethan. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Just silence and the sound of rain tapping on metal. Then Daniel's jaw tightened. "So this is what it's come to?" he spat. "You're sleeping with my best friend now?" Ethan stepped out of the car calmly, wiping the rain from his jacket. "Careful with your words, man. You lost her." "Don't act like she owes you an apology," Daniel laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "You think she loves you? She's just using you to hurt me." His words stung, not because they were true, but because deep down, they almost were. I opened the car door and walked up to him slowly. The rain soaked through my hair, dripping down my face. I stared straight into his eyes and said quietly, "Maybe I was trying to hurt you, but somewhere along the way, I realized you already did that for me." He looked shattered, like the man who once thought he was too good for me was finally standing in the wreckage of his own ego. He grabbed my arm suddenly. "Please, Mia," he whispered, voice trembling. "Don't do this. Don't be with him." I pulled my hand free. "You told me I was too old for love, Daniel. You made me believe I was nothing." I stepped closer, my voice steady but sharp. "So tell me, what does it feel like to watch me be loved by someone younger, stronger, someone you trust?" He didn't answer. His eyes flickered between me and Ethan, and for the first time, I saw it. Regret. Real, painful regret. I turned to leave, but before I did, I leaned close enough for him to hear my final whisper. "You should have thought about that before calling me old." As we drove away, I looked in the mirror, Daniel still standing in the rain, broken, helpless. Ethan glanced at me. "You okay?" I smiled faintly, wiping a tear that wasn't entirely fake. "I'm not okay," I said. "But I'm finally free." Little did I know that freedom was about to cost me more than I ever expected. Because love, even fake love, has a way of turning into something real. For weeks after that night, Daniel's face haunted me, standing in the rain, eyes full of regret. At first, that image satisfied me. It was the revenge I wanted, the closure I craved, but then something strange started happening. Ethan wasn't supposed to matter. He was supposed to be a weapon, not a comfort, not a heartbeat I looked forward to hearing. Yet every time I was with him, the act felt less like a game and more like something dangerously close to real. We'd spend hours talking, Not about Daniel, but about life. About the things I used to love before heartbreak swallowed me whole. He'd cook dinner for me, messily but with heart. He'd leave notes like, "Don't forget you deserve happiness too." And one night, as we watched the city lights from his apartment balcony, Ethan said something I didn't expect. "Mia, you don't have to keep pretending you're doing this for revenge. You're not that person anymore." I froze. "What are you talking about?" I asked. He turned to me, eyes soft but steady. "You can lie to yourself, but I see it. You've moved on. Maybe you even feel something for me." I laughed, but my voice cracked. "You're part of the plan, Ethan. Don't confuse that." He didn't argue. He just nodded, quietly hurt, and said, "Maybe I already did." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying his words in my head. "You've moved on. Maybe you even feel something for me." And the truth was, I did. But loving Ethan felt like betraying myself. Because if I fell for him, what did that make all of this? A revenge? Or a rebound? The next morning I got a message. From Daniel. "We need to talk, please. Just once." I almost ignored it. But curiosity, or maybe closure, pulled me in. We met at the cafe where we had our first date years ago. Daniel looked tired, older somehow. His arrogance was gone, replaced by something that looked like guilt. He reached for my hand, but I pulled back. "I was wrong," he said quietly. "About everything. You weren't too old for love. I was too stupid to recognize it." I stared at him, unmoved. "It's too late, Daniel," he sighed. "Then at least tell me one thing. Do you really love Ethan?" My breath caught. He looked straight into my eyes, waiting for an answer. And for the first time in months, I didn't know what to say, because somewhere between pretending and punishing, my heart had made its own choice. And I wasn't sure I could stop it anymore. I stood up to leave, but Daniel said something that made me freeze. "You know he only started seeing you to piss me off, right?" I turned slowly. "What did you just say?" Daniel smirked, the old arrogance flickering back. "He told me himself, said he'd teach me a lesson by showing me what I threw away." "You really thought it was just your game?" The words hit like glass shattering inside me. I walked out without another word, but inside, everything was burning. Had Ethan been playing me this whole time? Was I just a pawn in his revenge too? That night when Ethan called, I didn't answer. And when he came to my door, I looked at him, the man I thought I could finally trust, and asked the question that could destroy everything. "Tell me the truth, Ethan. Was I ever real to you?" Ethan froze in the doorway. The night air was cold, but the silence between us was colder. He didn't speak right away, just stood there, rain dripping from his hair, guilt shadowing his eyes. "Mia, please, let me explain." I crossed my arms, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Explain what, Ethan? That you used me? That you pretended to care just to hurt Daniel?" His jaw tightened. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" I shot back. "Because Daniel told me everything, that this started as your revenge." He sighed and stepped closer. "He's twisting it. Yes, I was angry at him. He ruined someone I cared about for years. You. I saw what he did to you, how he broke you, and I wanted him to feel even a fraction of that pain. But it stopped being about him a long time ago." I shook my head, trying to hold on to the anger that was slipping through my fingers. "You expect me to believe that?" He took my hands, his voice trembling. "I fell in love with you, Mia. That wasn't part of the plan. It just happened." I wanted to pull away, to scream, to tell him he was just like the rest. But I couldn't ignore the way his voice cracked when he said it, and that terrified me because I knew he was telling the truth. I stepped back, needing air, needing time. "You don't get to say that after everything, after turning my pain into your game." He swallowed hard. "You're right, I don't. But I'm done running from it. I'll tell Daniel everything. I'll tell him I love you. I'll burn the friendship, the reputation, whatever it takes. Just don't walk away like he did." His words hung in the air, heavy and real. I should have walked away. That would have been the smart thing, the safe thing. But revenge had twisted all our lives into something messy, emotional, unpredictable. "Give me time," I finally whispered. He nodded, defeated, but hopeful. "As much as you need." He turned to leave, but before he stepped out, he said something that stopped my heart. "For what it's worth, Mia, you were never too old for love. Daniel was just too small to deserve yours." And with that, he was gone. I closed the door and leaned against it, tears spilling down my cheeks. For the first time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel vengeful. I just felt tired. Tired of playing games. Tired of pretending not to feel. Tired of living my life as someone's lesson instead of my own story. That night, I wrote a letter. One for Daniel, one for Ethan. To Daniel, I wrote, "You broke a woman who would have loved you forever. I hope your guilt keeps you company." To Ethan, I wrote, "I don't know if what we had was real or revenge, but it made me feel alive again, and that's something I hadn't felt in years. Thank you." Then I packed my bags. No destination, no plan, just freedom. Sometimes walking away isn't defeat. It's reclaiming your power quietly, without needing an audience. As I watched the sunrise from my car window, I realized something. Maybe I didn't need revenge anymore. Maybe I just needed me. But fate wasn't done with me yet, because 3 months later, I'd see both of them again, at the same event. For reasons that would change everything. It had been 3 quiet months since I left everything behind. No phone calls, no messages, no men, just me. Rebuilding, relearning, and finally breathing again. I'd started a small interior design studio in the city. Nothing fancy, just enough to keep me busy, sane, and grounded. For once, my mornings didn't start with tears or revenge plans, just peace. Until that invitation arrived, a sleek black envelope with gold letters. The grand reopening of the Sterling Hotel, Daniel's last name, his empire, his world. The same man who said I was too old for love was hosting a high-profile event, celebrating his success with cameras flashing and champagne flowing. I laughed when I saw the date. Exactly 1 year since the night he walked out on me. Coincidence? Maybe, but life had a way of circling back when you least expected it. I wasn't planning to go, until I saw the sponsor's logo printed at the bottom of the invite, Ethan Miller Designs. My hands went cold, both of them. In the same room. After everything, I could have ignored it. I should have ignored it. But something inside me, the version of me Daniel tried to break, whispered, "Walk in there, Mia, not to get even, but to show them you survived." So I did. The night of the event, I wore a fitted black dress, elegant, understated, powerful. The kind of dress that didn't scream revenge, but whispered it. The ballroom was glowing, chandeliers, laughter, and fake smiles. And then I saw them. Daniel at the center, charming the press. Ethan near the stage, adjusting lighting details. 2 men who'd once defined my pain, now unknowingly decorating my comeback. When Daniel's eyes met mine, his grin faltered. "He wasn't expecting me, Mia," he said softly, stepping closer, disbelief flooding his face. "You look different." "I am," I replied. "Finally," he smirked, still the same arrogance. "You came to see what you lost?" I smiled. "No, I came so you could see what you lost." And before he could respond, Ethan appeared beside me. He looked sharp, confident, but when our eyes met, his expression softened with something that almost looked like regret, or maybe longing. "Mia," he said quietly. "Didn't think I'd see you here." I tilted my head. "You built the stage. He's performing on it. I thought I'd attend the show." A flicker of a smile crossed his lips. "Still got that fire." "Always had it," I said. "Just forgot for a while." Then the unexpected happened. Daniel stepped up to the mic for his speech, the audience clapping politely. He began his polished speech about legacy, power, and rebuilding after betrayal. The irony almost made me laugh. But halfway through, Ethan walked toward the stage, whispering something to the event host, who then handed the mic to him. Daniel's face froze. Ethan cleared his throat and said into the mic, Before we celebrate, I think it's fair to acknowledge the real architect of this success, not the building, but the woman who inspired both its rise and its downfall. He turned toward me. Every eye in the ballroom followed. Mia taught me what it means to face pain, to rebuild, and to do it without losing your soul. Daniel, she's the reason you learned humility, and she's the reason I learned love. The room went silent. Cameras flashed. Daniel's jaw tightened, and I didn't flinch. I didn't smile. I just stood there, calm, steady, untouchable, because I realized something at that moment. Revenge wasn't destroying someone. It was living so beautifully that their betrayal looked meaningless. I walked out before the applause began. Outside, the night air was cool, and the city lights shimmered across the wet pavement. My heart didn't ache anymore. Daniel's voice, Ethan's confession, they all faded into the background. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't someone's wife. I wasn't someone's heartbreak. I wasn't someone's lesson. I was just Mia, whole, alive and finally free. As I looked back one last time, the hotel sign glowed behind me, the Sterling. But to me, it would always be the place where my story didn't end. It began.